Let's go. Welcome to the Trusted Leader Show. I'm your host, David Horsager. Join me as I sit down with influential leaders from around the world to discuss why leaders and organizations fail, top tactics for high performance, and how you can become an even more trusted leader. Welcome to the Trusted Leader Show. It's David Horsager. I have a special guest today. He has run his own company for a long time. He's got the doctor in front of his name. He is, got a media kind of empire. He's got a business that's reaching people around the world. He's got a nonprofit for those in prison or that could go there. I'm so grateful to call him friend. He's a Hall of Fame speaker. He's a best-selling author internationally, and his name is Dr. Willie Jolley. Thanks for being on, Dr. Willie Jolley.
My dear friend David, it's so much of a privilege and a pleasure, a treat, a treasure, a joy beyond measure for me to be on with you and to be part of the Trusted Leader Show. It's just outstanding. So for those who know me, know I start the same way, whether it's on my XM show, whether it's in my speeches, or my daily radio show. I have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it. It's forced upon me. I can't refuse it. I didn't seek it. I didn't choose it, but it's up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give account if I abuse it. It's just a tiny little minute, but our eternities are wrapped up in it. So I'm grateful for this minute, this moment, this opportunity to be on with my friend, David Horsager.
Well, I am absolutely grateful. There's a whole lot we're going to dig into here, but I want to ask you, I'm going to start right out because, you've got a lot of depth, and yet you'd say you're a motivational speaker in some ways too. People can say
that brand. That I've learned to accept that brand,
right?
Because people put us all under this umbrella, motivational speaker. If you are a person who speaks and encourages and uplifts and inspires and informs people, but I'm okay with that. I'm good with it.
Well, how do you let's just jump right in on a couple things here.
Yeah.
Because how do you, we can say there is people that kind of just say, oh, be positive, this kind of thing, that kind of, but how do you actually help someone transform from kind of to have a positive outlook, that this doesn't just happen in a moment necessarily or a speech, but how do you actually help someone become positive?
Well, that was one of my challenges when I started in this business, because many of the speakers were motivational and they would motivate people, but they didn't tell you how. Well, I have a background in psychology. My undergrad degree is in psychology and sociology. My master's degree was in counseling. And then my doctorate is in faith-driven achievement. And so I wanted to tell you not just to be positive, but how to be positive. What were the steps that it would take? Because it's really not complete. It's almost a point of the doctor telling you, well, you got a broken arm. And just leaving it there without saying.
So let's jump into this quick. And we could go a lot of places. We need about 50 shows with you, but we're going to show people where to find more and all the great books you've written. And I want to jump into some of those things. But let's talk about this. What's the framework for being genuinely positive?
Well, the framework is that your actions, you must start a daily new way of acting in order to get the end result of being positive. So people say, be positive. Well, here's some of the things I recommend. One of the things you do is my daily routine. I'm going to give you my daily routine. I wake up in the morning and my eyes open up, and the first thing out of my mouth, David, is thank you. Come on, somebody. Thank you. I speak it out of my mouth. Thank you for another day. Then after I speak thank you, then I roll out of bed, go to the bathroom, come back and take some time to get on my knees. I literally get on my knees and say, God, thank you. I want to thank you for this, but I also want to ask that you will put a hedge around me and my family today, that you would keep us from hurt, harm, and danger. I I send out a prayer for my family, for my friends. Then I get up and I take some action, some sort of physical activity, because when you take action and physical activity in the morning or whenever you work out, but I work out, it releases endorphins into your bloodstream, which are a natural way to give you a upper. You don't have to take a joint or smoke or a joint or anything. You can get an endorphin that's right in your bloodstream. So I work out and I get that endorphin released in my bloodstream. Now then, David, I do something else that's a little strange. I say good morning to at least 10 people every morning. I literally, when I'm on my way to the gym or I'm on my way to get a cup of coffee or I'm on the road speaking and going from my hotel room to the ballroom or the arena when I was on to get motivated to, I would say good morning to 10 people. Now, some of the people I'd say good morning to, David, would say good morning back. But some would say, what's good about it? Some would say, Some would say nothing. But I still say good morning to 10 people. Why? Because I wasn't saying it for them. I was saying it for me, because faith cometh by hearing. And every time I would hear good morning, I would be conditioning into my brain that this is a good morning. And if I said that 10 times, I have conditioned in my brain, this is a good morning. I'm on my way now to a good afternoon. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm on my way to a good evening. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I had a good day. I repeat that day 7 times. I had a good week. I repeat that week 4 times. I had a good month. I repeat that month 12 times. I had a good year. And it starts with me just saying good morning. And I say to everybody who's listening, whether it's daytime, evening time, midnight, I don't care what time you're listening to this. Good morning.
I love it.
Because when you say it, you speak it, okay?
Speaking it confirms something. It definitely does. Writing things down does it. Speaking it out loud does it.
Yep,
I think there's something interesting. Lisa and I have started a practice, my wife and I, and that is in the morning, often we get up at the same time and go to bed together. There's times I'm flying and all these other things, but often we're together and kind of jump up doing stuff at the same time. So our first thing generally as a habit is in bed, hold hands, and share things we're grateful for every morning.
Great.
At night, before you go to bed, hold hands, share what we were grateful for that day. Because everybody knows there's plenty of challenges we can focus on. And it's not that we don't have to, we sweep them under the carpet or have to not deal with the tragedies of the world, you could say. We're not blind to them. In this trust work, we're dealing with a lot of challenges with companies and organizations and corruption issues and everything else. But for us as individuals, we're better when we do that. So I love it. Knees to thank, on your knees. Hey, on the physical action, point number 3, what's your physical action of choice? What's normally, what do you do?
Bike riding, bicycle riding. Okay, that's my...
What do you do? Hey, you're in D.C. What do you do when it's winter?
I ride in the winter, too. I ride in the winter, as long as it's not less than 40 degrees or ice on the ground. But I also have a gym membership, so I'll go to the gym. Our gym is about 10 minutes from my home, and so I'll either bike ride or go to the gym. I sometimes do a little bit of both on the same day, and sometimes I ride my bike to the gym. But bike riding is my exercise of choice. But then I go to the gym as well, and I will do the workout there.
I think leaders, one thing we found is they have routines because they take the choices and questions out of it. Okay, I do this. I think I'm on my knees. I do some physical action. I say good morning to 10 people, and I'm sure there's more in your life that you're doing regularly.
One more thing, and I'll say it because this is I'm a man of faith. And I fast one day a week, have been for many, many years, fast one day a week. And in that day, I'm grateful. I'm giving gratitude. I'm thanking God. And so I do that every week and have been doing it probably, a couple decades now.
Fantastic. I know. I love it.
Let me tell you why, though, David. Let me tell you why. Because I believe that the Bible is not just a book of do's and don'ts or a nice book of theological concepts. It's also a success manual. And Jesus said to the disciples, when they could not heal somebody, the reason you couldn't do that and you didn't have that ability because you didn't have the power. The power comes from fasting and prayer. Just fast and pray, and you can get power. I want power to move mountains. I want power to help people. I want power to impact people globally. I want power to transform impossible situations into possible situations. And you look at somebody who was a broke, busted nightclub singer. That's my story. You know,
let's. I might even have you sing for a second here, but let's jump there because let's get to know you a bit before we go to the next section of some things I really want you to help us think about, and that is, one of your most famous books, and you've got a whole lot of international bestsellers, but is the whole a setback is a setup for a comeback.
Yeah.
And tell us, what about the setbacks? What were some of the setbacks you had that you came back from or had to overcome?
Well, the number one that I came back from, I was a nightclub singer. If you were able to see it, some people can't see it because they are on the radio, but in my office, I've got awards behind me. Those are the Washington Area Music Association Awards, Best Jazz Singer, Best Entertainer, Best Performer. I was a nightclub singer. I sang jingles for Pizza Hut, making it great during the day, but I made my real living singing in nightclubs. And I had become the number one nightclub act in Washington, D.C. Things were going great. Well, one night I went to the nightclub. The club owner said, we want to talk to you after the night show. We went in, and I told the guys in the band, whoa, we're about to get our raise. When I went in his office that night, he said, you were great. The people loved you. That's why it's hard for me to tell you what I got to tell you. We love you guys, but we got to make more money. We got to get a better return on investment. And the only way to do that with a full nightclub is to lower the cost. Band's the biggest cost. There's something else filling up nightclubs. We bought a karaoke machine. I said, what? But what about my bills? And I learned that night, nobody really cares about you and your bills, but you and the people you owe. And I was decimated. I was distressed. I was destroyed almost. But someone gave me a motivational cassette. And on that cassette was a guy named Charlie Tremendous Jones, who said in 5 years, he was one of my dear friends. And he said, in 5 years, you'll be the same person you are today, except for two things: the people you meet who inspire you and the books you read that empower you. And I started reading books and going to seminars, and my thinking changed. I took a job with the Washington, D.C. public school system as a drug prevention coordinator, talking to little kids about staying away from drugs. It was during that year, David, that I started giving little speeches to kids. From the little kids, the teachers would say, could you come to my teachers group? Someone there would say, can you come to my church? Someone in the church would say, can you come to my company? Then Les Brown heard about this motivational speaker who was speaking and singing, and he invited me to be on tour with him and Gladys Knight on the Music and Motivation Dream Team tour. And that allowed me to be introduced to some media people because of Les and Gladys. And I got a little radio show. It got popular, got syndicated. Now I'm on SiriusXM, have the number one self-help show in the country on SiriusXM radio. And then that led to a book publisher hearing me on the radio saying, I love your ideas. Have you ever thought about writing a book? I said, no. He said, let me make you an offer. I said, I just thought about it. And I wrote my first book. It only takes a minute to change your life. Became a national bestseller. Then, as you just said, the book that put me on the map globally, A Setback is a Setup for Comeback. Setback is set up for a comeback became a global bestseller. Then turned Setbacks into Greenbacks. Then An Attitude of Excellence. Then Chicken Soup for the Christian Soul. Then Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last, the book I did with my wife. And in 1999, I was named one of the outstanding 5 speakers in the world by Toastmasters. 2005, inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame. 2013, named a legend of the speaking industry, all because, David, I had a setback. So I want to say to people, everybody who's listening, as we've gone through this time of intense setbacks, pandemic, economic downturn, massive job loss, racial strife, ecological disruption, all sorts of setbacks, I want to say to you that a setback is not the end of the road. It's a bend in the road. And I'm encouraging you to take that bend, to go with it and to grow with it and to come out on the other side with new opportunities and possibilities. I was a broke, busted nightclub singer who became one of the top speakers, according to Toastmasters in the world, because I had faith, I had the ability to focus on my goals and dreams, and I had follow through. I took action. You must act on your goals and dreams and do it consistently, and without fail, things will start to change.
Hey, it's Ann with the Trust Edge team here. As you know, we are passionate about helping you and your team perform at your best. And that's why David wrote his new book, Trusted Leader. This true-to-life parable follows the story of a CEO who uncovers the root issue threatening his organization's success. And in the back half of the book, David provides a roadmap for even how to solve those root issues. Get Trusted Leader for your team, your organization, or even just for yourself at trustedleaderbook.com.
What do you got your doctorate later on.
Yes.
Why did you do that? Because you had a very successful, you got a media business, you got the production business, you got all these things happening. Tell me about the thinking of that, because that wasn't too long ago.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I got my doctorate in 2013, and it was actually 30 years, David, since I got my master's. So I got my master's in 1983, and then I got my doctorate in 2013. What made me go back to school, David, was I'd been talking about going back to school since I was, finishing my master's. But then I got married. Then I started speaking. Then I built this business. And I couldn't take time off to go back and go to school. But yet, something inside of me said, is this the best you can be? Mm-hmm. And I knew the answer was no. And so I had to man up and not just talk about what you could do to continue to better your best, but do it. So I had to shut my business down for a year, David, and go back to school. And it was hard. It was humbling to sit in the library at night with 20 and 25-year-olds. And I'm in my 50s at that point. And so I said it was worth it, though. It was worth it.
I've noticed something about you, and I think this is the greats in our industry, and you're certainly one of them, but they could keep learning. They're continual learners. They're not just talking about what they talked about 25 years ago or 50 years ago. So I think a lot of people say, what did you learn from that? That's not the question I have for you. I want to say, what are you learning today?
Yeah.
What are you learning now?
I'm learning every day. I journal. Okay. I journal, David. And I sit at night and pull out my journal and I write about what I learned today. And I'm learning something new every day. I'm learning about people. I'm a student. I'm a curious person. I think that's why my XM show has kind of blown up, because I'm asking those curious questions. And I'm always curious, what made you do this? Why did you do this? How did you go from there to here? And so what I'm learning now, David, is how to think about my next iteration, my next evolution. Because I started as a youth speaker. Well, I started as a nightclub singer, but when I started speaking, started as a youth speaker. I only was speaking to youth. And then I expanded to colleges, and then to education groups, and then to corporate leaders. And it just to continue to grow. And every time I would get, somewhat comfortable, I'd say there's another level. And now I'm working on my next level.
What's the next level?
Television.
In a sentence or two.
Media and ministry. Okay. But not your traditional, Bible thumping ministry. The word ministry or minister, to minister to someone, is a word that many people are confused about, because they think you have to be evangelical and try and get everybody to convert to your way of thinking. But the word minister means to serve. The great story that Jesus taught on the Good Samaritan. This guy's going down a road. He gets robbed. He gets left in a ditch. And a priest goes by, a rabbi goes by and says, he must be drunk. He must be inebriated. But a Samaritan, the lowest of the low, the outcast, sees this man hurt and takes him and puts bandages on him and puts him on his animal and takes him to the inn and says to the innkeeper, take care of him. Here's the money I've got now. Take care of this man, and I'll come back soon. And if you have to spend more money than what I've left, I'll pay you whatever. He said, is he a friend of yours? No. Is he a cousin? No. Why are you doing it? He's my neighbor. I've never met him before. That's ministry, David. And that's what I want to do. I want to inspire people, whether they're Christian, Muslim, Jewish, I don't care what they are. Do they need help? Do they need encouragement? Do they need uplift? That's what I'm here to do.
And what does that look like in the next phase of your life? That's through media. That's on XM. That's on TV. Tell me about it.
Yeah, that's the Willie Jolley. That's Jolley Media. But it's here's the thing, David. Here's what I'm thinking. I want you to hear this clearly. It's not just the next part of my life. It's the next 100 years. That's what I'm thinking now. Where do I see this in 100 years? Because I learned that the great ones will plant trees that'll take 80 years to grow. And they're in their 80s when they do it. That's my goal. So my goal, David, is that 100 years from now, some child will walk into a room and see a picture of me and my wife on the wall. and run up on the fireplace and run up to it and kiss that picture and say, thank you, great, 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 great granddaddy. And thank you, great, 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 great grandmama for what you did 100 years ago to make it possible for me to have a business, a home, a family, a financial legacy. That's my goal. So that's what I'm thinking right now. That's where I'm going right now. And so we're building this so I can pass the keys at some point in time to my son. He's an attorney, and he can pass it to his children. And we keep passing it. I'll give you something that encouraged me, David. Hopefully it'll encourage you. I interview the best and the brightest on my XM show, and I encourage everybody to listen to my XM show. I had a guy named David Horsager on. He was fantastic. He was fantastic. Fantastic. All right. But I interview the best and the brightest, and then it goes to podcasts, and you can get it on the Willie Jolley Wealthy Ways podcast. But one of the people I interviewed, but it didn't go to podcast. We just had a conversation, because I was planning to interview him. He's the president of the Dale Carnegie Institute. And I said to him, I said, tell me about the Dale Carnegie Institute. He said, we got 4,500 franchisees around the world, and they pay us a very significant fee to be franchisees. I said, that's fantastic. And he was telling me about it, and I just did the numbers in my head. I said, whoa, that's a lot of money. I said, so where can I buy stock? He said, you can't. I said, you can't buy stock? He said, no. It's a private company. It's a private company, yes. I said, who owns the company? He said, the family owns the company. I said, how long have they owned it? Since 1910. It's 121 years. 110 years. At that point, it was 110 years old. And I said, they've been getting money for 110 years every year. He said, absolutely.
So is that good? By the way, here's my question on that, by the way. Our family has a little different belief on being given money isn't the healthiest. My parents just had sold half of the farm and have been having fun giving money away to things. But do you think it's best for those generations, future generations, to be given money?
It's best that they have a trust, that the money is in a trust. And the trust gives them a remunerable expense in exchange for what is written in the trust, that they must get an education, because you give money to people who are uneducated, it will kill them. And so they have to get an education. They have certain benchmarks they must hit in order to get that payment. It's there. Okay. It's there, but it must be met. It's not just let me give it to you because you have my last name. No, you got to do something, because that's how we grow. You're right.
I was just talking. Yeah, I love it. I was just talking to somebody who said basically no wealth past 3 generations, almost ever.
That's right.
And then of course you have Carnegie.
Yep.
And you have Rockefeller, 7 generations now, I think.
Yep.
And there are some people that are doing it right, I guess. So I just wanted to touch on that.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely. We put it in a trust.
I know that I love that. I love your legacy, the impact you've made, are making, and are going to make. Let's touch on something that we don't always get to touch on, but I'm passionate about, and that is, marriage. You're passionate about marriage these days, and the making an impact there for many. Tell me about where that passion came from and what you're kind of doing about creating healthy marriages, and then I've got a follow-up question.
So here is our program. My wife and I have been married as of this recording 36 years, haven't had an argument in 33 years. And we wrote a book that talks about what we've learned from wise mentors who've been married 40, 50, 60 years, as well as what we've learned in our journey. The book is called Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last, 10 Secrets to Shape a Great Marriage. And we do a weekly television program online on Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and LinkedIn Live, Monday nights at 9 p.m. And it's called Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last, the broadcast, where we do a half hour every week on some issue of marriage. We find that marriages break up for 1 of 3 reasons, David: for sex, money, or communication, or lack thereof of the 3. And so we realize that many people have little hairline fractures in something in their marriage, and they don't deal with it. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It becomes a chasm. It becomes a Grand Canyon. And so what we decided to do was to try and do what God had given us an assignment to do, was to save 1 million marriages and enhance 1 million marriages. And we just did it the best we could. Well, the book now is doing terrific all over the world. And so, and we're proud. It's under our imprint, Jolley Publishing. So that is something we created. And the book is totally under our auspices. But we want to just inspire people to stay married and to find a way to be happily married and to enjoy each other for years and years and not get bored with each other, but to enjoy the process.
I was mentioning to you before, my parents just celebrated their 62nd, I believe, this summer, my in-laws' 50th anniversary. Proud of both of their marriages and commitments and all that. And my wife, a little over 24 years. So I want to ask you this. Give us 2 tips from the book that we can do tomorrow morning. Every relationship, every married person listening, 2 things they could actually apply to have a better marriage. 2
things that we recommend highly to keep your marriage fresh is 1, have a weekly date night. Have a weekly date night. Now, people say, well, I don't have any money. You don't need money. When we learned this from a couple who told us, have a weekly date night. And we started doing it every Thursday night. Even when I was traveling, our kids were small, so my wife couldn't travel with me. I'd call in. We'd watch. But when I was home, we'd watch Hill Street Blues and LA Law or whatever was out on Thursday night. We'd get some Jiffy Pop popcorn. Y'all don't even know about that. You're too young for that, David. Okay, that's you pay 59 cents for Jiffy Pop. You put it on the stove, you pop it up, and that was our date. And we sit on the couch, watch television, and the 2 things you cannot talk about on your date night are the kids and the bills, because you didn't have them when you were dating. So you date, and that's 1. Have a weekly date night. Number 2. I'm going to give you 3 because they're important, is say I love you every day. Even if you don't feel like it, say it, speak it, because you're conditioning yourself and your spouse. And then 3rd, hold hands. Because when you hold hands, you're not just holding hands, you're holding hearts. I love what you said about it, that y'all hold hands in the bed and talk about the day. Those are the things we recommend. If you do those, it will have a profound impact on your marriage. Simple. Just try it. It works.
Hey, it's Sam from the Trust Edge team. Most training and development initiatives don't last or even solve the root issue hindering your organization. That's where Trust Edge coaching certification comes in. Trust Edge coaches are equipped with a suite of tools to identify, benchmark, and close gaps in trust for good. Because when you solve the real issue, you get measurable results in a culture where people actually want to make an impact. So whether you're a coach with your own clients or a leader training people inside your organization, check out trustedgecoaching.com and see how you can start solving the root issue and get lasting results in your business. And now back to the show.
I love it. But in the same token, you've interviewed a lot of successful people.
Yeah.
Yes, grateful to be on there. That was fun. But you've some amazing people. Give us a couple takeaways from those that you've interviewed as far as just life and maybe even business success.
Sure. Bill Marriott, he said, if you want to be successful in business, make sure you take good care of the people who work in your business. Treat them really well, because then they will treat your customers really well. General Colin Powell said, perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. If you are a small band, a small army, or small team of 10 people, but you're perpetually optimistic and you're positive, you will perform like 100 people because it grows your impact. And then Les Brown said, whatever you focus on longest becomes strongest. So grow yourself and you'll grow your income. You'll grow your wealth. And remember that the greater the impact, the greater the income.
I love it. What are you learning from these days? What's your favorite resource? I mean, we know this input equals output, so you got to put good stuff in. You've got a lot of output happening from all your shows and books and writings and readings and sharing. What are you putting in?
Yeah, I'm reading. I don't read as much as my wife, even though I've got the radio show and I'm doing a new guest every week. I try and read their book, but my wife is reading about 2 books a week. But I read my guest books. And then I've made a habit over the years, David, of doing something. I read a faith-based book and then a business book. I read a faith-based book and a business book. because I realized I got to stay balanced, because I'm here for two reasons: to make a difference and make a profit. And if I get out of balance in any one of those, I'm not able to do the other well. If I get out of balance in making a difference, then I'm all about the money. And I want people to make a lot of money. But then money becomes your God. Money is a tool. Okay, it's a tool. And of course, the more that tool you have, the more you can impact not just your faith-based places like churches and nonprofits and charities, but you can give your children and your family some opportunities. But if you focus only on the money, you'll get out of balance. But if you're only on the faith, you're not able to have the money to keep it going. So each one has to be balanced. I got to have impact and income. And if I stay, that's it. If I do that, brother, I'm going to think I'm going to do all right.
We say the same exact thing, impact and income. It's interesting because when on the first board I was on 20 years ago, more than that maybe now, they had this great impact orphanages around the world, and they'd come back from Ghana or wherever. And it's like, but we don't think about the money. No, we just think about the work. And 2 years later, that organization wasn't around at all.
I was going to say they weren't going to be around long.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, you said something a moment ago about being curious, and I know you are, and that's one of the things that keeps you being such a great learner. What I find, you know, great people, they're curious and they ask some of the right questions. What are some of your favorite questions to ask?
Yeah, I got some great questions. Here's one that I ask almost everybody I interview. One is, why is it important to be wealthy? Okay, why is it important to be wealthy? And it's interesting that the common answer I get, because it gives you options. It gives you options on your health care. Far too many people die for a small health issue that they did not have money to fix. I had a friend who was like a big brother to me, he was the bass player for the Temptations. The Temptations, a great group. But he was a musician. He had his money was up and down, up and down. He didn't have health care. And he died over something that would cost $5 in a prescription, just a small infection. So he'll give you money, and he'll give you option of healthcare where you send your children to school, what kind of home you have, where you live. Okay, that's fine. Second is I ask every guest, what are the you gotta? You gotta do this if you want to be a success. And I get such amazing answers from every guest. What is it? So let's say I ask myself, Willie Jolley, what are the you gotta? You gotta do this if you're going to be a successful. Well, here are my you gotta. And everybody has their own. You got to dream big. You got to dream big. If you're going to dream, you might as well dream big. Second, you gotta be good. You know, I love this quote that's on my wall. We cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good we can do. Do good. Be good. Try to be a leader. And another you gotta is make sure you prioritize. Keep your priorities in check. My priorities are very clear. God first, family second, business third, and everything else after that. And I don't get it twisted, as they say.
You've got a lot of quotes. You quote a lot of people. You've got a lot of sayings and tips and takeaways. What's your favorite quote? I think, this favorite quote, or at least a favorite quote or saying.
My favorite quote is, your best is still yet to come. Simple. I do it at every end of every show. You heard me say it when you were on my show. At the end of every segment, I say, the best is yet to come. And at the end of the show, I say, your best is still yet to come. On my daily radio show, which is syndicated, and my video version is about to be picked up. I just had a conversation with a major sponsor who wants to sponsor this in a digital format. So if you go to winwithwillie.com, you can sign up for my newsletter where I send out a daily 1-minute message. It's also on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. A daily 1-minute message. And at the end of that, I say, your best is yet to come. Now, David, you need to know why I say that. Because I told you I'm a man of faith. And I love this story that's in my new book. My new book is coming up about faith in action. It's a story about a woman who was terminal. So she asked the pastor to come over and she said, Pastor, here's what I want you to do. Here are the scriptures I want. Here are the songs I want. Here's what I want. Very clear, detailed. She said, and at the end, when they have the repast, I want you to make sure, and when, well, most importantly, he said, when y'all have the casket, make sure that they see in my hand, my fork is in my right hand. And he said, why do you need a fork in your right hand? Because at the repast, I want them to keep in mind that when we had the church socials, they'd always say to you, keep your fork after the entree, after whatever the dinner, because the dessert is on the way. The good, the best is on the way. And so I want people to know that even though I'm dying here on this side of the river, my best is on the other side of the river. Keep your fork.
The best is yet to come. We can't hardly top that.
Thank you.
I love it. There's so much here. Let's give them this, and we'll put it all in the show notes. We've got all your how to find you, but tell us out loud. How do we find out? What are the key places? Because people should be listening to your XM show. It's phenomenal.
Yes.
But where do we find out about Willie Jolley? Where do we sign up one more time? Where do we sign up for the newsletter?
WinWithWillie.com. WinWithWillie.com. That's a site we created that has all my websites. I got about 9 or 10 websites. And I got a faith-based Jolly Good News. My nonprofit is there. My motivational site for young people, our business site, our marriage site, all of them at winwithwillie.com. So go to winwithwillie.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get updates on my marriage show. You'll just get lots of information to help you grow your personal life, your professional life, your family life, your financial life, your faith walk, and will help you grow your future. That's what I'm here to do, man. Just do the best I can. And when my time comes to go, David, my plan is that even the Undertaker will be sad to see me go. That's my goal.
Hey, we can't close much better than that, but we have one final question.
Sure.
It's the Trusted Leader Show. Who is a leader you trust and why?
Yeah, I trust, this is going to be somebody I trust. My pastor. My pastor, his name is John Kenneth Jenkins Sr. He's the pastor of the First Baptist Church of Glen Arden in Maryland. And he's also the chairman of the board of the National Association of Evangelicals. And I trust this man because he's a man of integrity, a man of character. He will not do something just because it's convenient or it's easy. He'll take the hard, tough choice, and it's always scriptural. So I trust him. And then, believe it or not, I trust, and I've learned a lot from General Colin Powell. We had lunch. One of the things about General Colin Powell, he'll tell you no. And I say, General Powell, I need you to do. He said, no, Willie, I won't do that. I can't do that. And he helped me learn how to tell people that's not going to work. No, I can't do it. And those two people that come to mind. Then I trust my wife. I trust my wife implicitly. I trust her. She's bright. She's brilliant. She's beautiful. And I know she's got my back. Let me tell you something, and this is for all the married people. The most important decision you'll ever make in your life, folks, is who you marry. Because they'll be important. They'll be the decision maker next to your faith, the most important decision next to your faith. Because that decision will be directly impactful for whether you have 90% of your misery or 90% of your joy will come from that decision. So choose well.
Choose well and be well.
Yeah.
Not just about them, but be someone you want to be married to, right?
You are talking right now. Zig Ziglar said, and I got a quote in the book, that who you are is much more important than who you marry, because you will marry the right person. And if they're not, they will become the right person because of who you are.
Yep. I can think of an example in my head right now that has done that. Well, there is more we could say. Thank you for inspiring us.
Look, we've been we're sitting around our kitchen table talking. And that's what I want to do. When I come to Minnesota, I got to hang out with you, and we got to break some bread and just sit around the table.
Come see the family, see the kids. Come jump on a horse. We can get you on a tractor or a horse or
I love it.
Else. But thank you. Thank you for being a friend and for touching me. And by the way, this is one thing I don't always say on the show, but thanks for not just being trusted, but trustworthy. Amen. It's a lot more to be worthy of it than just appearing it. So,
amen.
Everybody check out the show notes for everything about winwithjolley.com and everything else. And Dr. Jolley, thanks for making me better. Thanks for sharing with the audience here today. Until next time, everyone, stay trusted.